All right. Well, welcome everybody. You are in the Social Determinants of Health Interest Group meeting with Aurora Health Alliance. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'm pleased to introduce my colleague, Karely Villareal-Hernandez. She's a student in the Colorado School of Public Health, and she's also an undocumented student services specialist at CU Anschutz. So she's going to tell us about the Undocumented Student Services Program and the resources they have to offer. So Karely, please take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Tessa said, my name is Karely. I go by Karely, Karely. All those three names are fine with me. I know sometimes people struggle saying Karely, so I don't mind. I'm Karely. But thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to present to you the resources that our University of Colorado, CU Anschutz has for undocumented students. Ready? So this is the presentation. It's we call Undocumented and Unafraid, supporting our undocumented students. And so this is a sort of our agenda for today for my presentation. This is where overview. We're going to go over like our community guidelines, Zoom request, how to be an undocu ally, the importance of terminology and terminology, who are undocumented students, the comparison of benefits and rights based on immigration status, the difference between CASFA and ASSET, some of the challenges our students face, what our office does and how we can help out CU students and non-CU students, and how to help dreamers in general, and some resources that are available and that are local. So I just kind of wanted to share the community guidelines. These are some of the guidelines that we usually have when we make some of our trainings. We usually ask people to use I statements and share from personal experiences. We want people to be fully present. We want to celebrate multiple truths. We want to listen to understand. And conflict and discomfort are a part of growth. Lean into it. I want to share airtime, encourage others to participate. We don't know all there is to know, so we all make mistakes. For example, I know a lot about undocumented student services and sort of the legal aspects of it, but I might not know everything. Be open to growth and change in yourself and others. What's shared here stays here, what's learned here leaves here, when we accept a lack of closure. Is there anything else that anyone may think of that may be important before we begin? All righty. So I just have Zoom requests. If possible and comfortable, please keep video on. I like seeing people's faces. Also lean into the chat function. If you have comments, concerns, questions, please ask them. I'll be sure to take a moment in between slides and answer all those questions that you may have. Please take care of yourself. If you need to turn off your video, if you need to step away, it's totally understandable. If anything else that anyone else thinks that would be helpful, please let me know. All right, so first thing first, we're going to talk about the importance of terminology. We would like to start with language. I think language is very important when it comes to this community. We don't want to use illegal. We don't want to use alien or anchor baby. These are pretty ugly names to be calling human being. So we want to refer to people who don't have the like citizenship, like US citizenship as undocumented. Or we can say this person is undocumented. Sometimes we don't want to say, oh, that person, that undocumented person too. I think it's derogatory and it doesn't really define a person. Their status shouldn't be the defining factor of who a person is. So I'm not sure if everyone's heard about the term anchor baby. So the term anchor baby, it comes across, it's actually been developed in the 1900s. So anchor baby refers to when people come from other countries and come have their children here. And so when their children are here, born here, they become citizens. And so when their kids become citizens, they can apply for citizenship for their parents, like residency. And so sometimes they call these babies like anchor babies, because so they're the ones that, these children are the ones that are able to kind of like hold on to their parents here, and not, and in case of deportation or anything, it would be a little bit more harder to deport someone. All right. And we're just continuing with the terminology. We're looking at undocumented, mixed family status, DACA, and dreamers. So undocumented people are individuals who do not have the necessary documentation to have legal status in the US. Mixed family status, that's what we were talking about with the anchor baby. So it's our families that include members with different citizenship or immigration statuses. That means that maybe parents don't have citizenship and their children have citizenship, or they may mean that some siblings, some children may have citizenship, but other siblings don't have citizenship, or it may mean that the grandparents have citizenship, but the children of the grandparents don't have citizenship, but the grandchildren have citizenship. So there's many ways that families can have citizenship or not have citizenship. And those people and those families, we call them a mixed family status. Then we have DACA, which stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. This is a policy that allows some individuals who were brought to the United States without documentation as children to receive a renewable 2-year period of deferred action from deportation. And so this means that they become eligible for a work permit in the US. So there's there's recently been a lot of news about DACA. So right now, students who are not students, but people who have DACA can continue applying for DACA, but people who are eligible for DACA cannot apply at the moment. That's still in the courts. It's still being decided. I think right now, people are kind of in limbo because of that. And then DREAMers stands for Development, Relief, and Education of Alien Minors. It's a terrible way to name them. But DREAMers is basically a movement that emerged during the time that the DREAM Act was being pushed through Congress. The individuals that make up the group are primary undocumented students and youth. And so who are our undocumented students? So these are children of immigrants that coming irregularly or losing status. They arrived in the US at age 6. On average, there's 80% under the age of 10. They're members of mixed status families. And then a lot of our students, many don't realize their status is until age 16 to 18, when they're starting to apply for their driver's license, and when they start thinking about working, and that's when they start to realize, oh, I actually don't have that documented status. I can't actually legally work. And they all come from numerous diverse countries of origin. I didn't bring into this presentation some of the stats of our undocumented students, but a lot of our students come from China, a lot of from the Asian countries. Not the countries, yeah. Who are undocumented students? They're exception students and community members. They're early bilinguals. They have efficacy attributes. They have extraordinary resilience and achievement. They're strong problem-solving skills. They have a strong independence. They have appreciation of complex decisions and nuanced understanding of narratives. And so I kind of want to look at the different status have different access. So I have here U.S. citizen, legal permanent residency, DACA beneficiary, and undocumented. So you can be undocumented, but not be DACA. Okay, so who is eligible for free public schools from K to 12? This is all of the above. So everyone who is a U.S. citizen, legal permanent resident, and DACA beneficiary, and undocumented students are eligible to go to free public school. Who can apply for federal financial aid? Those are U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents only. Students who are DACA or undocumented cannot apply for federal financial aid. Who can apply for work study? U.S. citizens and legal permanent residency and asset DACA students. So I'll go a little bit over what asset means, but that is sort of like some of the statuses that Colorado came up with for students who are DACA recipients to be able to apply for work study. Food stamps and public housing is just U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents only. DACA beneficiaries and undocumented cannot apply for food stamps or public housing. Who can travel abroad? U.S. citizens, legal permanent residencies, and DACA beneficiaries. I'm not sure if right now they're still able to travel, but in the past, DACA beneficiaries could travel, but they had some restrictions. They could only travel abroad for some certain amount of time and they have to be back a certain amount of time. And who has the right to vote? U.S. citizens only. That means that no legal permanent residents cannot vote, and that means that DACA beneficiaries and undocumented people cannot vote. Now we're just going to look at the comparisons of benefits. So I sort of came up with a table that sort of illustrates the statuses, sort of undocumented, DACA, permanent residents, the arrival departure record. So these are asylees, the non-immigrant statuses, people who have a VAWA visa, a student visa, an exchange or visitor visa, and series visa. So aside from undocumented and DACA students, there's a lot of other people who come to the U.S. and have all these different visas. And so it's a challenge for everyone who's not a U.S. citizen to navigate how to navigate and access schools past K through 12. So right now, those are the different benefits. As you guys can see, there's asset status, FAFSA, CASFA, a work study, and scholarships. So asset status, which we will go over in the next slide. And there's the FAFSA, which is the federal financial aid, and then there's CASFA, which is the Colorado financial aid, and there's work study scholarships. So students who are undocumented in DACA cannot apply for FAFSA, but they can apply for CASFA, and then they can apply for work study, and they can apply for scholarships. So as you guys can see, the majority of people can apply for scholarships, but it's really unsure if people who come on a visa for exchange visitors can apply for scholarships or who have a Series G visa. Right here, everyone else can apply for work study, but some visas you aren't really sure if you can. CASFA, so as you guys can see, FAFSA is only available to permanent residents, as people who have the visa for the asylee and non-immigrant status and a VAWA visa. They can apply to FAFSA, but they cannot apply for CASFA. And then the asset status, which we'll go over, is a status that it refers to the Colorado, I'm gonna just go over that one first. The Colorado Asset Act of 2013, which is advancing students for a stronger economy tomorrow. And so this allows for undocumented high school graduates to pay in-state tuition at Colorado colleges and universities as long as they meet for the residency requirements. So Governor Polis signed a legislation in 2022 that expands access, making students eligible with 1 year of in-state residency. And so that removed the requirement that they have to apply with 1 year of graduation from high school. And then that made more than 200 students will be eligible for assets funding each year as a result of this expansion. Going back. So the CASFA, the asset status right there, that just means that you're eligible for in-state tuition. So that means that everyone here in this column right here would mean that they would be able to get the in-state tuition. And then we have CASFA, which is a Colorado application for state financial aid. It's an alternative to FAFSA, and people can apply. People who aren't able to apply for FAFSA can apply to CASFA. So the requirements to be able to apply for CASFA is that you have graduated from Colorado high school, or you're physically present in Colorado for at least 1 year immediately after you have graduated high school in Colorado. That means that you have been physically present in Colorado for at least 12 months prior to enrolling into an institution. And there's no longer a requirement for the student to be admitted to college within 12 months of graduation. So before, you couldn't have asset status, and you couldn't apply for CASFA if you had graduated from high school and you didn't go into college right away. If you waited more than 12 months to go to college, you wouldn't be able to get these benefits.
Karely,
Yes.
so for CASFA,
Yeah.
so an undocumented student who can't sign up for DACA, because I know a young lady like that, she would qualify for CASFA?
Yeah, she would be able to apply for CASFA. These are for undocumented students. In general, they don't necessarily have to have DACA.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So these are some of the challenges that our dreamers face. As you all can see, that there is a lot of ineligibility for federal and maybe potential state aid. That many of our students and parents work multiple jobs. They usually have this thing called stop out. They sometimes take a break in between their studies to be able to afford college. And then there's just a lack of clarity about requirements for financial opportunities. Sometimes our students struggle applying for scholarships in specific, because sometimes the scholarships are federal funded instead of privately funded. And so not a lot of the scholarships list that out. And so they have to go through many hurdles trying to figure out, can I apply to this scholarship? Should I? And then they're also concerned if they're able to give out their status to someone who doesn't know them. And so there's also the emotional, mental, and physical stress. They have stress and anxiety for family members, friends, and self. They experience insensitivity. I've had a lot of people come up to me, and just because I work for the Undocumented Student Services Office, they ask me directly, "Are you undocumented?" That's not something that you would ask anyone. It's not something that you should put anyone in the spot about. There's also numbness to anger at continual insecurity. A lot of our students end up asking themselves, why should I even go to college if I'm not going to be able to work after I graduate? Some of the licenses still say that you need to be a U.S. citizen. And so they're not able to work after they graduate from college. There is a fear of sharing statuses and whom to trust. And there's a lot of societal impact and just internalized stereotypes. And then there's also the legal side of it. There's minor legal infractions that can jeopardize their DACA status. And there's also an ongoing concern about the uncertain future of DACA, even with the reassurances from the Biden administration. So like I had mentioned earlier, DACA has been reinforced for students who are currently DACA, but not for students who would like to apply for DACA. And there is a pressure just to be perfect. Yeah. And then we'll talk about, and we're now going to talk about what our office does and how we can help out students who go to CU entrance and students who do not go to CU entrance. So what we do is that we meet with current and prospective students one-on-one for sort of a personalized assistance regarding any challenges that they may be facing in their ability to persist in college. That means that I'll either meet with myself or with another colleague, and we will just be able to talk about how to apply for college, what kind of scholarships they need, what aid should they apply to, sort of all those steps all the steps that they need to take in order to be able to apply and persist and thrive in college. We also provide and coordinate programs, workshops, and events to support student needs and educate the CU entrance community. So usually I go to non-CU events and sort of show up and be able to share our resources that we have and let others know that there are people who are willing to work with you in order to go to college. And we also work with our campus partners to remove barriers for success, such as the application process, financial aid applications, and registration processes. We're still in the process of making the application process more seamless and not confuse our students, because sometimes these questions, sometimes some questions about citizenship status throws off our students about if they can apply or not. And then we also want to further ways to increase funds in order to support undocumented students through our CU Dreamer Scholarship, and we do continuous fundraising with that. And so how can we support our undocumented students in general? So we usually ask to engage with an open mind when supporting undocumented students. We also would like to create a safe space in order for them to share their status. We want to learn about the relevant institutional policies and legislation. I want to find and advocate for scholarships and financial support. I want to connect students to undocumented friendly resources, and we want to access reputable legal information and assistance. So that's how we can usually help support our students. And sort of, these are sort of the resources that we have, then the people that I usually work with. So I have CU Denver, CU Boulder, and UCCS listed mainly because that's from our CU system. But these people will also work with any student, regardless of status, and be able to how to navigate college. And also Spanish speakers are available. So it's not just for English speakers. I have more resources right here. These register, we have the register office, financial aid office, we have admissions, and then more admissions over here. And then I think it's the last one over here, yeah. Right here where it says Stephanie Roberts for the Undocumented Student Services Office, CU Boulder, they have a legal office that works for the community. And so a lot of our students or that are not in CU or CU go to this legal office in regards to issues related to their DACA status or anything related to being a DACA student, or how to apply for it, or be able to look at their documentation, etc. So these are some of the resources outside of CU that I usually recommend. These are undocumented friendly. We have the UndocuHub, Servicios de la Raza, Mi Casa Resource Centers. There's low-fee clinics, Undocumented Life, Informed Immigrants Rising, United We Dream, and Pre-Health Dreamers. These are all the ones that I recommend. They're all for different things, but I like recommending the low-fee clinics because a lot of our undocumented population cannot access healthcare, and so there are clinics out there who take low fees. And then there's also a DocuHub, which is sort of a hub of all undocumented friendly resources as well. Thank you so much. That's all I have for you all today. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Excuse me, do have one in the chat. I can read it out for you.
Okay.
From Sandra, are there opportunities for students to learn English through the program?
Not through our program, but I am sure that there are, I think there are other places. I can't think of the name right now. There's a place called I'm not sure, like the Asian Pacific Community Center. I'm not sure if that's what it's called.
Asian Pacific Development Center.
Yeah, Asian Pacific Development Center. They usually offer English classes, and I know this because my mom is doing it. And so they offer different levels, and they're usually they're online, either online or they're in person.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then could you also speak to healthcare access? So the question is, could you also speak to healthcare access? If that is a separate topic, that is okay to defer it to another time. That's a great question. I could speak a little bit to the healthcare access for our undocumented population. So right now, undocumented folks cannot really apply for insurance and can't really access to regarding healthcare, the new OmniSalute program and it opened up 11-1. I'm not familiar with that program, Sandra, so I don't know if you would like to speak to that program. My understanding is that they don't really have access, but there are clinics like Caritas Clinic who sort of give you a discount, or community-led clinics like I can't think of the name right now.
Yes, if I may, there
Yeah,
is
go
a
ahead.
program that just opened, and it's for undocumented families, and it's called OmniSalute. It opened in November 1st, and they have 10,000 spots right now. I can share the information in the chat, because they're wanting to get, so they're starting it and testing it with 10,000 spots. That seems to be so little, but they're expecting that would be more than enough. I don't know much more about it, but I know that I learned recently a couple of weeks about it, a couple of weeks ago, and I've been like sharing that information with families that I come across in the field.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Karely, this is Rich. I met you several months ago,
Yeah,
probably last year over at the.
I remember you.
You remember?
I do.
Right. Yeah, where Colorado Access was doing the vaccination clinic and you were supporting it. Great. Karely, pre-DACA, their Fort Hays State University seemed to be a place that undocumented kids could get into. That's in Kansas. Do you know anything about Fort Hays? Have you heard about that as kind of a relief valve for the undocumented kids?
I don't know anything about that, but if there is a student who has questions about that, I'd be more than happy to sort of do some digging and, kind of find more information about that.
Great, thanks. I'll talk to the student who did. He went there, got his bachelor's degree in geology, and now works for an oil company. And was pre-DACA, and he made it. So yeah,
That's
I'll find
awesome.
out from him and then relay whatever he has on to you, because that might be an access route for kids who aren't on DACA.
That's awesome. So you said that he works in an oil company now?
Yeah, he got his bachelor's in geology and now works in oil.
That's awesome. Good for him.
And he's DACA now, but he wasn't back then.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you all for sharing all of those resources with me. Any other questions, concerns?
Thank you very much, Karely.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated being invited and being able to sort of present the resources that our university has.
Thank you so much.
I think we can wrap up. Thanks everybody for coming. And excited to hear more in the future. 2023 is around the corner, so excited to share with you all AHA plans for 2023 when that comes around. So thanks all.